Hello, students. How are you all? Welcome back to geography. So, last class we saw food crops other than grains, that is, sugarcane, oil seeds, tea, coffee, fruits, and vegetables. Then we also learned about non food crops. There was rubber and then fiber crops like cotton and jute. Now, today we are going to learn about technological and industrial institutional reform. Indian farmers have been using old and inefficient methods and techniques of production. Since they are traditional and also poor, they have not adopted the modern methods of farming. The, these modern methods are widely popular in Western countries and Japan. The Persian wheel, wooden plow, bullock carts, these are all the symbols of traditional technology of Indian farming. With old technology, the farmers haven't been able to increase their productivity and production. So the food production was falling short to the growing demand of the ever increasing population. To feed the millions, increase in productivity and production became very, very necessary. So after independence, some steps were taken in this direction. Some technological reforms were taken, which helped. So agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained use of land without the compatible techno-institutional changes has hindered the pace of agricultural development. Why has India not improved in technical and institutional reforms? In spite of development of sources of irrigation, most farmers in large parts of the country still depend on monsoon and natural fertility for their agriculture. Agriculture needs serious technical and institutional reforms. Collectivization, consolidation of holdings, cooperation, and abolition of the zamindari system, these were all given priorities so that to bring a reform in the country post independence. So some institutional reforms worth knowing are the new techniques of irrigation, electricity or diesel operated water pumps have now replaced the Persian wheel. Large areas can now be irrigated in a shorter span of time. Tractors and iron plows have replaced the wooden plows drawn by bullocks. Now, farmers with small holding lands do not keep bullocks, they use tractors and other machineries as and when they require it. Such machinery can be their own or it can also be hired. Roads and communication. Most of the villages are connected with all weather roads. Telephone and mobile phone facilities are also available. This has encouraged the sale of agricultural products even at moderately faraway places because of the infrastructure. Travel has become easy. Chemical fertilizers are required for increasing the farm productivity, and now chemical fertilizers are being used on a larger scale. High yielding and early maturity quality seeds are helping the farmers to increase their production. And most of these inputs together has given birth to Green Revolution in the 60s and 70s, and White Revolution, which is spearheaded by increasing the milk production. These are some of the important technological and institutional reforms. Land focus was the main focus of the 5-year plan. Right of inheritance has led to lots of fragmentation of land holdings. Laws of the land reforms were enacted, but those laws were not implemented. So what were the steps taken by the government in the agricultural reforms? Government of India embarked upon introducing agricultural reforms to improve the Indian agriculture in the 1960 and then 1970. Green Revolution based on the use of package technology and White Revolution were some of the strategies initiated to improve Indian agriculture. So this led to the concentration of development in few selected areas. And so in 1980 and 1990, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which included both institutional and technical reforms. Provisions for crop insurance against calamities, establishment of Grameen banks, cooperative societies, and bank for providing loan facilities to the farmers at a lower rate of interest were some of the steps taken by the government. These technological reforms I have already discussed with you. Other steps taken were Kisan Credit Card, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme. These schemes were introduced by the Government of India for the benefit of the farmers. There were also special weather bulletins and agriculture programs which were introduced for farmers on the radio and television. The government also announced minimum support price, remuneration, and procurement prices for important crops to check the exploitations of farmers by speculators and middlemen. So the institutional reforms were land reforms. In land reforms, you can say it included abolition of the zamindari system and consolidating the small holdings. These land reforms made holdings economically viable. Then radio and television programs were used to acquaint the farmers, familiarize the farmers with new and improved techniques of cultivation. Crop insurance was introduced. This was another step to protect the farmers against the losses caused by the crop failure on account of natural calamities like droughts, floods, hailstorms, cyclones, fires, and diseases. Credit facilities, that is, loans at low interest, were made available to farmers through banks and cooperative societies. These loans helped the farmers in the modernization of agriculture. Then we'll talk about the Bhudan Gramdan. Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhuve as his spiritual hire. He also participated in the Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He was one of the votaries of Gandhi's concept of Gram Swaraj, Swarajya. But after Gandhiji's martyrdom, Vinoba Bhave undertook Pad Yatra to spread Gandhiji's message, and he covered almost the entire country. Once, when he was delivering a lecture at Ponchampally in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well being. Now, Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately, but he assured them to talk to the government of India regarding the provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. Suddenly, Sri Ram Chandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villagers. This act was known as Bhudan because Bhumidan, Bhudan. Later, he traveled and introduced his ideas widely all over India. Some zamindars, owners of many villages, offered to distribute some villages among the landless. This is known as Gramdan. So some zamindars were ready to distribute villages, so it started to be known as Gramdan. However, many land owners chose to provide some part of their land to the poor farmers due to the fear of the Land Sealing Act. This Bhudan Gramdan movement, initiated by Vinoba Bhave, is also known as Bloodless Revolution. What is the contribution of sorry, yeah. What is the contribution to the national economy, employment, and output by agriculture? Agriculture has been the backbone of Indian economy through its own share in the gross domestic product GDP, and it has registered a declining trend from 1951 onward. In 2010-2011, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector. Declining the share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will automatically lead to decline in other spheres of economy, having wider impact, having wider implication on the society. Establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, agricultural universities, veterinary services, and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast. These were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. Also, improving rural infrastructure is considered very essential for the same reason. Though the GDP rate is increasing over the years, from this table you can see that the GDP rate is increasing over the years. It is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The growth rate in agriculture is decelerating, which is an alarming situation. Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition, and our government is going ahead with reduction in public investment in agriculture sector, particularly in irrigation, power, rural roads, market, and mechanization. Subsidies, subsidies on fertilizers is decreased, which has led to increase in the cost of production. Reduction in import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to the agriculture in the country, because when you reduce the tax on import, we will import more agricultural products, and so we will grow less agricultural products. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, which is causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. So these are the troubles or the obstacles that agricultural sector is facing today. Food security. You know, food is a basic need, and every citizen of the country should have access to food which provides minimal nutritional level. In order to ensure availability of food to all sections of society, our government has carefully designed a national food security system. It consists of two components: buffer stock and public distribution system. Public distribution system is a program which provides food, grains, and other essential commodities at subsidized prices in rural and urban areas. The primary objective or the main objective of this policy is to ensure food grains to the common people at affordable prices. The policy focuses on growth in agricultural production and on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice so as to maintain the stock. Food Corporation of India procures and stocks food grains, whereas distribution is ensured by public distribution system. India is the largest waster of food, which is so sad. Very sad, because we have so many people who are sleeping hungry on the streets. I think we should all take a promise together. We should never waste any sort of food, whether it's at home or in a restaurant. If you can't eat it, pack it and give it to someone. Let's not waste it. Hmm? How are the food grains procured? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of this method? Now, FCI, that is Food Corporation of India, procures food grains from the farmers at the minimum support price. This minimum support price is announced by the government. The government used to provide subsidies on agricultural inputs like fertilizers and water, but these have now reached sustainable level, and they have also led to large-scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce inputs. Excessive and imprudent use of water and fertilizers have led to waterlogging, salinity, and depletion of the micronutrients in the soil. The high MSP subsidies in input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy grown in Punjab and Haryana are for the MSP they get, which has created serious imbalance in the intercrop parities. Consumers are redivided into below poverty line and above poverty line. But again, this differentiation or categorization is not perfect, as a number of deserving poor are excluded from the below poverty line category, and some that is above poverty line easily slip into the below poverty line because failure of one crop, and it is difficult for them to survive, very difficult for administration to even track such shifts. Each district and block can be made self-sufficient in food grains, in food grain production, only if the government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, credit linkage, and also encourages the use of latest technologies. Instead of concentrating only on wheat or rice, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area should be encouraged. Creation of the necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity can also attract private investment in agriculture. Focus on creating food grain production, which should also be on sustainable basis, and free trade in grains will create massive employment opportunities and reduce poverty in the rural area. That brings us to the question, what is the future of India's food security? Shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oilseeds, and industrial crops. This has led to reduction of net sown area under cereals and pulses. Competition for land between non-agricultural uses and agriculture has reduced the net sown area. The productivity of the land is declining because of fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides. These had shown dramatic results once, and these are the results for the degradation of the soil. Scarcity of water has led to reduction in the area under irrigation, and inefficient water management has also led to waterlogging and salinity. Land degradation, free power to a section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crops in low rainfall areas like Punjab and Maharashtra. So why has food grain production remained stagnant, or it has fallen for 5 consecutive years? From this table, you can see that. That is because of land degradation, reduced water storage in aquifers due to unsustainable pumping, inadequate storage and marketing facilities. Farmers have to pay high prices for the HYV seeds, fertilizers, and they lack the bargaining power to fix prices in their favor. Higher the supply, lower the demand. And so there is distress sale. There can be no food security without security of the small farmers. What is the impact of globalization on agriculture? In the 19th century, when the European traders came to India, Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world, and farmers were encouraged to grow these crops. Even today, it is one of the most important export items in India. During the British period, cotton belts of India attracted the British, and cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for their textile industry. The Champaran movement started in 1970 in Bihar because the farmers of that region were forced to grow indigo for the British textile industries. Under globalization, particularly in the 1990s, Indian farmers have been exposed to new challenges. Despite being India being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute, and spices. Our agricultural products are not able to compete with the developed countries due to their highly subsidized agriculture in those countries. To make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust should be given to the improvement of the condition of the marginal and the small farmers. Green Revolution promised much more, but it became the reason of land degradation. The key word today is gene revolution, which includes genetic engineering. Organic farming is much more paid today because it is practiced without factory-made chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, and it does not affect environment in a negative manner. Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue growing food grains on the holdings of the small holdings that grow smaller and smaller as the population keeps rising. So Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high value crops. This will increase the income and reduce the environmental degradation simultaneously. India's diverse climate can be harnessed to grow a wide range of high value crops. Fruits, medicinal herbs, flowers, vegetables, biodiesel crops, they need much less irrigation than rice or sugar, and they will get back much more value. Organic culture will adapt to climate change more quickly. So this is why we should now shift from growing wheat and rice to other crops that will bring back our farmers a high range of value crops. With this, I end today's class. My homework for y'all will be to write what, according to you, is the future of agriculture in India. Write one short paragraph on what do you think is the future of agriculture in India. And I also want you all to comment on this video if you have a thought on what do you think is the future of agriculture in India, and you have an idea or a thought which you think can change the scenery for the Indian farmers, you can write it down in the comment section below. Next class, we will do a revision of this chapter. Till that, stay home and stay safe. Take care and keep learning.